Welcome to the best channel ever. Subscribe to have a good luck till the end of the week. Story 1. I'm probably late to the party, but I'll share because my Tinder story is terrible and that's what we're all here to see. So, I matched with this really cute girl and all of her pictures were professionally done, like senior pictures. We texted for a few days and she seemed alright but not exactly interesting or funny. But, as any sane male using Tinder, I wasn't looking for anything more than a hookup. So, one night, she invited me to pick her up because she was sneaking out of her house and I agreed and drove to her neighborhood to meet her. I called her when I was at the gate and she sounded funny and sounded like she was eating and her mouth was full. I thought nothing of it and waited for her to come out. So, she rounds the corner walking kind of funny and wearing weird clothes, like clothes a 12-year-old girl would wear, and again, we're both 19. So, she gets in my car and she's kind of making a funny face and as she reached to hold my hand without saying hello, it hit me. This girl was mentally handicapped. So, her little brother came running around the corner yelling, telling her to come back because their parents were going to go crazy. She yelled back out of my open window, "It's okay, I'm with my boyfriend. He's gonna take care of me." I'm sweating at this point and I calmly tell her that she should probably go with her brother, but she wouldn't let go of my hand. So, after some convincing, she went back with her brother and I sped out of there. She called me like 20 times, texted me saying she needed me because her parents were going mental being mad at her, and I sent one text back saying that she should listen to them and not sneak out anymore. I never texted her again and she still texts me to this day, inviting me to go to places with her family as her boyfriend and I never reply. So, now I Skype everyone before I meet them in person. I think it is fair to say now and probably a good rule of thumb for this guy to block the number from this poor girl. I mean, she just wants to be loved and feel like a normal girl, and I'm glad that she has a protective brother who was looking out for her too. It might be time to monitor her phone usage a little bit though because it seemed that she was all too eager to jump into a car with that guy. Story 2, oh boy. Okay, so back in January, I started using it and was matched with a girl who happened to also be in engineering at the same school as me. We started talking and next thing I knew, we had gone on a few dates and everything was going great. A few days later, I had a stats midterm and while studying, I got a text from her saying, "Hope your midterm goes well. Why don't you come over for board games after?" Now, I'm usually pretty oblivious, but board games on a Friday night. Yeah, I'm getting late. So, I finished my midterm, texted her that I'm on my way, and hopped on a bus. The entire bus ride, I'm smiling from ear to ear, waiting patiently until I finally arrive around 9:30. I enter her place, and bam, a bottle of wine on the table. Yeah, I'm getting late. So, I go and sit down, and we start drinking, and bam, Settlers of Catan, and we played for 2 hours. She hugs me goodnight, and I leave, and I didn't get late. Story 3. My buddy just told me that his story last week, apparently he had it for a while and got nothing. So, his first hookup was some really cute girl that was somehow in the sports industry. She got them special access to a game and then they would go to a party at somebody's uber expensive apartment, like rooftop garden in New York City in the millions, and then he got a BJ in the bathroom. Now, he is not a guy that brags, but it was over the top enough that he had to share the story. I mean, how could you blame that guy? You go from just casually swiping on your phone to hanging out at different games and then getting head in a bathroom. I mean, that's pretty much every guy's fantasy right there. I think when you achieve that level of awesomeness, it's an unwritten guy rule that you have to share and brag a little bit. Something that epic should not be kept to oneself. Hey, don't forget to subscribe my channel. Story 4. I recently started using Tinder and happened to get pretty darn lucky with the first girl I actually met up with. We met and got ice cream and did some making out and stuff the first time, and then again another time, but then the third time was quite a different story. She and I met at a bar that I usually go to on Wednesday nights, and she ended up being pretty drunk that night, which is unusual for her, and we started fooling around after heading to her apartment. At some point, she told me she was pretty inexperienced and wanted a good story if we were going to hook up. So, somehow we ended up going to a lake in the middle of campus and found a secluded spot where we banged for almost 2 hours. Inexperience apparently did very little to affect her enthusiasm, and it did end up being a pretty darn good story. Story 5. I got Tinder about a month ago and met with my first live one last week, and we actually had been messaging for about a week or two. pretty different schedules to blame, but we ended up meeting for a concert, which led to drinks, which led me to inviting him back to my house, which led to doing the deed. The deed lasted effing forever, and not in a good way. He was one of those wrongs who just can't effing finish, and instead of admitting defeat, he just keeps pounding and pounding. Gentlemen, this is not desirable. Crap hurts after not too long. There is chafing involved, and in the end, I was just so over it that I rolled over and went to sleep. So sorry, dude. I'm giving him another chance this weekend with hopefully less alcohol, so we'll see. Story 6. I started flirting with this one girl and eventually got her number, and she texted me on a daily basis. After 2 weeks of getting to know each other, she asked me to be her date at a Super Bowl party. It sounded fun to me, so I thought, why not? She said the party was at 5, but she wanted to come over around 3:30, even though it was a 10-minute ride from there. So, I totally figured that she wanted to hook up first, so I totally prepared myself for that. She shows up, and I invite her in and ask how long before we have to leave. She says it's already started, so we have to leave now, and I thought, well, that was weird. But I got into the car and drove there with blue balls the whole way. It was at a restaurant that she worked at, and it was an employees and their date's party. So, when we got there, it pretty much hasn't started. Big surprise. We've talked for about an hour and get to know each other, but it's painful because she's so shy. It was open bar, but she doesn't drink, so I resisted the temptation. Now, eventually, her co-workers come, and I meet them. 2 told me one of them was an ex, and it didn't really bother me. They seem like good guys, a little on the scummy side, though. So, they all look like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. They're all about 22 and have a kid or 2 and low-income jobs. Eventually, they convince her to drink, and 1 sip becomes a whole drink, and then 1 drink becomes 3, and she is really drunk, but still kind of flirty. I didn't drink anything and played it on the safe side because I was driving, and the plan was to leave halfway through and go to a house party. So, I drive her and her co-workers there, and what a horrible idea. We get there, and it's one of the worst places I've ever seen. There was a 75-year-old man playing Madden instead of watching the Super Bowl. There were kids running around while people were doing various drugs and talking about selling drugs, along with pregnant women drinking. It was a little uncomfortable, but screw it, we all played a drinking game. Then the girl goes to the bathroom down the hall. About 3 minutes later, 2 of the co-workers go down the hall to the porch to smoke. About 10 minutes go by, and her ex gets up to see if the bathroom's open. He comes back and lays this on me, Jen is getting railed by both those guys right now. Don't go into the bathroom. I was absolutely stunned. I had no idea what to do, so I just sat there and watched the Super Bowl. 5 minutes later, she comes out, literally pulling her pants up. She completely ignores me and continues playing. Then, 5 minutes go by and she goes to smoke with another guy. One guy goes to check and comes back to let me know, yeah, sorry man. She's railing him now too. The guys at the table start saying how nice a guy I am, and that it sucks that I'm her date, and that she's already railed 3 guys. Then, they started getting weird. They started whispering about me and pointing at me. I wasn't entirely sure that I was gonna get jumped. So, she comes back and I tell her, hey, we're leaving in 5. One guy at the table stomps me and says, wait, she's already railed Tim, Bill, and Mark, and I figured me and Mike could get a go, and you can have her the rest of the night. What the heck? I left immediately with her. Unfortunately, her car was at my place, and she kept saying the whole car ride that she hates it when this happens, and this is why she doesn't drink. I took the long way home because I knew she was drunk. She tried to prove she wasn't by slapping herself and then saying, I'm not drunk. I see the 3 yellow lines in the road. I know there's only 2, but that's how I know I'm sober. I tell her to stay for an hour, knowing I could prolong it as she could sober up, but she throws a hissy fit that her phone's dead and her parents are looking for her. She says that she has to drive home immediately. We get home, and I say, okay, bye. She apologizes and leaves, saying she'll see me soon, and I never talk to her again. Then, she posts on her Facebook like 3 weeks later about how bad she messed up and how her co-workers don't take her seriously and how she has to move because of it. So, there is a lot to unpack here. First lesson to be learned here, guys. If after 2 weeks of talking to a girl and flirting, you're already behind the curve. If the girl is the one who has to ask you out to a party, make that first move because you're now stuck at a weird party with a 75-year-old gamer. Also, I hate when girls use alcohol as a cop-out, an excuse for their horrible behavior at a party. They're telling me the only reason that you screwed multiple guys in one night is because you were forced to drink. That seems like a little bit of a lazy excuse to me. Pretty sure the behavior was always there and you're just hiding behind the booze. Girl story 7. My Tinder story starts on Thanksgiving 2013. I was living in Brooklyn at the time but was in Massachusetts visiting family. I was bored, newly single, and fairly buzzed from my departed grandfather's old scotch. I saw an adorable girl with a black lab and I swiped right. She did as well and we began messaging each other. It's clear that she has an excellent dry and sarcastic sense of humor and we decided to meet north of Boston for a drink. I park and start walking towards the bar. I see her looking at me from the car. She gets out and shakes my hand and I'm delighted by how cute she is in person. Those big beautiful eyes. As soon as we walk in, a very drunk middle-aged woman tells me that she likes my glasses. She was quite chatty and my date looked on with an amused and charming smile because I think she enjoyed how I dealt with the situation. So we sit down and talk. Conversation is slow at first. She's 30, I'm 28 and I'm newly single. She's been divorced for 1.5 years and we're both a bit shy. But we make each other laugh and I'm trying to suppress this aha type of emotion, but it keeps getting stronger by the minute. We keep talking and the crowd around us erodes into inebriation. There is yelling, there is dancing, and there's Little John piping through the speaker system. Oh, skeet skeet, mother effer. We decide to try another bar. We clearly like each other, but the previous venue was a bit of a hellhole. Nothing is open since we're in the burbs. So she mentions that her fitness studio is nearby, but it's Thanksgiving and we're in Massachusetts and there's nowhere to buy wine. Now she is sweet and she's gone from cute to beautiful. I'm compelled to spend as much time with her as I can. She is so funny. I mention sheepishly that I have a bottle of whiskey in my car and I give her several outs as I don't want her to be creeped out. She feels comfortable enough to have a drink in her studio with me. We go up and I'm still in hookup mode, but I clearly feel something special. After a few minutes, I try to reconcile this confusion by kissing her. She doesn't reciprocate, so I'm embarrassed and I apologize. She apologizes and tells me that she liked it, she just wasn't expecting it. She wasn't sure if I was having a good time. So I smile because I know that I'm somehow having the time of my life and we admit how nervous we are and decide to take it slow. We listen to Neon Indian, we discover a mutual love for Elliott Smith, we tell each other things that we haven't told those closest to us, we hold hands for hours, we kiss again, and this time it's electric. Now she is tipsy and it's late and she needs to teach a fitness class early in the morning. I don't want her to drive or have to sleep in her studio, so I offer her a ride. I tell her I'm exhausted and that I want to stay over. I want to sleep next to her and I promise to be a gentleman and she agrees. We go up to her place and I meet her dog. He is gregarious and has a distinguished name. We put on music and go to bed and we make love. It's wonderful and nerve-wracking and I'm fairly petrified. We sleep, wake, make love again and suddenly it's 7 a.m. And I'm sad. If I drive her back to her studio where her car is parked nearby, I buy her a coffee and we tell each other how much we enjoyed last night. We make plans for Saturday. I walk away feeling like I've met my soulmate. We text non-stop and then spend Saturday and Sunday together. I leave for New York City on Monday. She is going to visit. She keeps giving me outs in case I change my mind, but I won't. She visits 2 weeks later and has the best weekend of our lives. We decide that we want to be together. Countless miles and Spotify playlists later, we moved in together in Boston in April. And I'm happier now than I've ever been. It's the most wonderful and natural and healthy relationship that I could ever hope for. It's the kind of love that transcends words and songs and poetry. I'm incredibly thankful, and it gives me anxiety to think how easy it would have been for us to never meet. It was completely inconvenient and unexpected and perfect, and we are happy. We are indefinitely appreciative of one another. We wish we met sooner, but we know that we have found each other right on time. Well, holy crap, it's hard not to appreciate such a finely worded love story. I applaud this guy for putting in the time and energy to share his lovely encounter. I truly hope that these two are still together because with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, it is these kinds of things which the world needs. Obviously, not everyone believes in soulmates, but it sounds like these two are pretty darn close. In the comments, has anyone had a similar experience where you met someone and it just clicked instantly?